عبادي وادخلي جنتي صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Just a few announcements before I call up our speaker. Once again, just a reminder that we do have a children's program. We have two children's programs. One is in the ladies' dining hall for ages 2 to 4, and it's also for mothers with young infants. There's a TV in there if you guys would like to listen to the speech from there. And then the second children's program is for ages 5 to 10, and that is in the old Sunday school hallway. It's the hallway right after the Farsi Hall, room 201 and 202. On the ladies' side, it's the hallway in front of the ladies' bathroom. So please do take advantage of those. And as you all know, I've seen from the emails and the messages, we do have daily programs for the month of Ramadan, starting at 6:30 with a recitation of the Holy Quran, followed by Dua Iftitah, or the Dua of the day, namaz, and then dinner, and then our lecture for the night. Alhamdulillah, tonight we are blessed to have Sayyid Abbas Razavian here with us. He grew up in the greater Los Angeles area. He received his bachelor's degrees from Marshall School of Business at USC in LA. At the age of 21, he moved to Iran for Islamic seminary, and he has studied there for over 17 years. He's currently living in LA at this time. Please help me invite him up with your loudest of salawats.
Do this, and I'll give you the Quran.
I'm going to read your full intro, but I don't want to embarrass you too much. You know, like all the mashallah, the things you've accomplished.
You didn't say how many push-ups I can do.
Yeah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعجل فرجه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. Thank you so much. We would like to recite Surah Al-Fatiha and At-Tawheed for the sponsor of tonight's program, Marhum Haydar Ali Sagarwala, inshallah. Let's recite a salawat first in Hamd and Tawheed. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad آل محمد وعجل فرجه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. May Allah bless his soul. And alhamdulillah, how fortunate is he to be reminded, and his family is thinking of him in the grave. A place where many of us will soon be, a place that our actions will no longer be effective anymore. Today, this world is the day of amal, of action, but the hereafter is the world of hisab and accounting. So remember your marhumeen, especially your beloved ones. During this month of Ramadan, believe me, they are waiting for you just to send a little gift to them, a Fatiha for them, just a La ilaha illallah on their behalf. Brothers and sisters, it is the month of Ramadan, and it is a month that we are trying to change ourselves. We said last night that it is as if it is raining right now. Let's recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajfajr. It is a time period that it is raining. Rain is pouring from the sky. We collect water in grace, and we benefit from Allah. Some like this cup. When you see this cup, how much can this fill someone up? Not much. Some benefit in the entire month of Ramadan like this cup only, because that's the capacity. The capacity only holds this month. Some are more like that large, you could say, pitcher in the back that holds more water. Some are like, say, a fuel tanker that can hold that much, for example, liquid. Some like a pool or a sea. How come some benefit more in the month of Ramadan and some don't? Because it's raining. Because their capacity is higher than others. What they have become and that ability to hold has become much more. Some, the capacity in our lifetime is like the life of Shaheed Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, who it is his anniversary of his martyrdom, that at the young age, he wrote books on logic. He had a huge capacity to learn, as his teacher Ayatollah Khoi mentions, that if this Shaheed Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr was in the West, the entire world would know about him. But because he was in the East, they didn't recognize his potential that he had and how much service he did. This dharfiyat that someone like him had, in the perfection in everything, in politics, perfection in fiqh, in jurisprudence, in theology, in philosophy, in iqtisaduna, in economy, we see that some have this type of capacity. Our teachers in Qom would say that when a new book would come for Shaheed Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, this is the capacity he had. He would sometimes start reading that book standing at the bookstore or whatever, standing for 6 to 8 hours, right there standing and reading. Once they asked Ayatollah Khoi, asked for his Minhaj al-Salihin to be checked. He wrote Minhaj al-Salihin. It's a book, the first volume, to act upon. This great alim remembered the mabani of his ustad, of his teacher. It is something very difficult to go through the fatwas of your teacher, one volume of fatwas of your teacher, just from the mabani that you learned from him, just from what you know that the teacher is saying in his beliefs and his, you could say his opinions. From there, he went over Minhaj al-Salihin, the entire one volume in one night. This would take a group of people maybe months to go over. One night he reviewed the fatwas of his teacher and he said, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And Ayatollah Khoi looked at it and says, how did they get my fatwas wrong? But he found it in one night. So this was an alim that had this capacity to learn, to teach, and was not afraid of Saddam Hussein. So we're talking about becoming Islam produces when you act properly and you have that desire to seek God, that desire to seek knowledge. It produces the likes of Ayatollah Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, who today, even in Bahth al-Kharij, every day in Usul his name is mentioned. One of the main texts they read are his discussions in Usul al-Fiqh, in the roots of jurisprudence. They say that he used to prepare his durus in the haram of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. But just remind, you would sit down somewhere and just review it. After a while, he used to do this every day, daily. He didn't go there for whatever reason before to review. And one of his family members had a dream and said that Imam Ali alayhi salam is asking, where is Muhammad Baqir? Where is he? We would like that he would come to the shrine and review his lessons and his minds next to us. So alhamdulillah, may Allah bless the soul of our ulamas and whatever we have today. are the ulamas, because they are taking care of us during the time of occultation. They are our, we could say, foster parents. Our true father is Imam Zaman. And the hadith says during the occultation, the ghaibat Imam Zaman, we are yatim. But our ulama are taking care of us. May Allah, inshallah, true ulama, protect them and preserve them for us. Let's recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So how can we increase our capacity? How can we gain more in this Shahr Ramadan? Is there a limit to what Allah gives in this month? No. The person that benefits most is the Imam of the age, Imam Mahdi. His fast is true fast. His salat is true salat. His dua is true dua. And if we want to increase our capacity, we learn from him. How do we learn from Imam Zaman in Shahr Ramadan? By his instructions. We have hadith. We have hadith that he instructed the Shia to recite dua al-Iftitah. Dua al-Iftitah during Shahr Ramadan. How many of you are familiar with this dua? How many people here have heard of dua al-Iftitah? I'm sure most of you have. But tonight we're going to spend some time talking about this dua, and we started last night, because it is one of the du'as that are from the holy lips or from the holy hands of Imam Zaman. It came from his second deputy, Muhammad ibn Uthman al-Amri. Is attributed for him. And we talked about this last night, that during the ghaibat, the minor occultation of Imam Zaman, there was contact with the Imam. There was contact, they would write letters, and the representatives would collect them, give them to the Imam, and the Imam would return. And they would sometimes, you could say, he would stamp. And this was called a tawqi', meaning that he would stamp the letters for the people. From one of these contacts is dua al-Iftitah. Beautiful dua. Some say it is one of the most important du'as in Shahr Ramadan. And making dua changes, we talked about what? Our vision, our ufuq, the way we look at life. Because we are used to having fake needs, fake things that we can live without. We're used to having a life where we have an overabundance of items, and we think we need these things. And we work harder and harder and harder for extra things that we don't even need sometimes. You don't need to have so many types of clothes, so many types of food, so many different types of luxury items, for example. I'm not saying you have to live a simple life. What I'm saying is we have been accustomed, because of consumerism, we have been targeted to be interested in products that many times we don't necessarily need. They help us, but we get addicted to them. And at the end, we realize this wasn't even a need that I had. But where do we learn our true needs? From Imam Zaman, from the dua. Because the Imam is expressing, dua means to ask. And what is the Imam asking? He's teaching us to ask these things. Those other extra things that you have in your life, put them away. Put those all away. That's part of your material life. That's not what you're created for. If we were just created to eat and to have shelter and protection, well, the animals are doing this better than us. They're having a nicer life in this world. Sometimes you see the way dogs are treated, mashallah, they go to hotels. Many of us, we don't go to hotels in an entire year. They're doing this better than us. But we have not been created for this. We have been created to know God, to obey Him. So the Imam teaches us the needs that we have. And what are the needs? At the end of Dua al-Iftitah, talks about making dua of the advent of Imam Zaman. This is your number one important deed that every night, if you read Dua al-Iftitah, you will connect to Imam Zaman and say, Allah, I complain to you that my Prophet is far from me and that my Imam is separated from you. Every night you're saying this when you recite Dua al-Iftitah. Every night the faster, the one who as-sawmu li wa ana ajzi bih. Fasting is for me in hadith. God says, fasting is for me and I will reward it myself. That person is making dua for the faraj of Imam Zaman. Brothers and sisters, sometimes one of the mistakes people make is this. They say, Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam are all good. Kulluhum nurun wahid. They're all good. I'm just going to remember some Ahlul Bayt, and they're all in general good. But we have specific instructions not to forget Imam Zaman. specific hadith, not to be ghafil, not to neglect him. At Dua al-Iftitah, there's a few things for us. One, we make dua for his faraj. Two, we talk about his government and what will happen when he will come, the beauty, and it inspires for us hope. Mahdism is one of the important pillars of Shiism. One pillar is the love of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The other pillar is being muntadhir, in anticipating the advent of Imam Zaman. These are pillars of Shiism. So every night you're teaching us to be a true muntadhir. Every night you're learning what to make dua for, to learn what Imam Zaman, how he prays, how he teaches us to pray. And this will cause our horizons to change. This will cause us, as you can see, us to really believe that Allah is sufficient for us. That Allah is truly sufficient for us. Alaysa Allah bikafin abda. Is not God sufficient for His servant? Everything you want does God not have it? Is God not sufficient? Should there be another God? Should there be two or three? Because this one isn't, a'udhu billah, doing a good job? No. Is not God sufficient for us? Where else are we going? The Imam sometimes say, Aina tadhabun? Where are you going? Where are we going? What are we doing to ourselves? We have needs that only God can answer these du'as and answer these needs that we have. So therefore we are learning from the Imam to call upon God. He is going to answer us. That is one of the beneficial things about du'a, is that when you do this, two things happen when you make du'a, the importance of du'a. When I make du'a, one thing is that you are testifying that I am in need. Can anybody here can you say right now that you are not in need? That you're self-sufficient? Can anybody claim that I don't need God? Na'udhu billah. We believe that He creates us and He's giving us existence second by second. The entire creation is doing hamd of Him, and He's giving its existence second by second. He is giving rizq to everybody. Can you even say that God doesn't give rizq to someone? Wouldn't that be shirk? Wouldn't that be polytheism? So the first thing that you understand when you make dua is this, that God, I am in need. I am faqir. I am in need. I am not someone, as the Quran says, mustakbir in dua, someone that thinks, I don't even need God. I don't even need to make dua. That is one of the people that will enter hellfire in the Quran, it says. Those that are in not need of dua. So we need Him. The second thing in dua that you learn, and we said that the first is need. Rasulullah was known as the most faqir, the most person that had faqr and poverty, but not poverty in the meaning of he was poor, that he realized that he was in need of God. Faqir meaning that he is in need of ghani, which is God. That is why we could say al-faqr fakhri in the hadith, that need for me is for me my honor. Because he is abdu, he is the slave of God. And the slave of God believes he is completely in need from Him and that God is sufficient for him. Brothers and sisters, once you change your horizons and believe that you're in need and that Allah will give you and He is sufficient, nobody can ever hurt you. Nobody can ever harm you. Look at Ayatollah Muhammad Baqir Sad, for example. They could not threaten him with anything because all his needs were spiritual needs that he wanted. He didn't need anything from the zalimeen, from the oppressors. You're not anymore in the scope of the oppressor. They can't do anything to you anymore when you have that vision. The second is you believe that Allah has everything. Allah is complete. Allah is absolute perfection. Allah has all attributes of perfection. This is two things that are happening when you make dua. One, I am in need. Two, Allah is sufficient. Allah is my Lord. When it comes to making dua, there are three stages you can say of those people that make dua and they forget God. Sometimes people are in a stage that you would do dua, but they just forget. They're forgetful. For example, somebody gives you a cup of water and a pill, and you just forget that Allah is Shafi. You forget that Shafa is from Him, curing is from Him, healing is from Him. You just have the pill and you just forget. And you think the pill is going to make you better. But you forget that actually even this pill, because of vertical hierarchy, Rabatiyya Tuliyya, you could say vertical hierarchy, even this pill is attributed to God. And that healing is Allah is a factor. He is causing the healing, even though it's being caused by this pill. But it is from Him. He is Musabbibul Asbab. All of these go back to Him. That's the first stage. Is this in us or not? A lot of times did this happen to us that we forget to make dua? That you have a pill, you want to drive in the car, you forget to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Allah protect me. You forget sometimes because insan is forgetful. Or the fact that you want to start a project in your life and you forget to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Allah help me with this. This is the first stage of ghafla that we're trying to remedy in ourselves in Shahr Ramadan, practicing. The hadith even says salt. Ask your salt from me, from God. Salt is something in Arabia that is prevalent. In America and Costco, it's prevalent too. You can get a lot of it, maybe for $10, your entire lifetime of salt. Right? Or Sam's Club. I apologize, maybe Sam's Club. But yes, salt was prevalent. Even salt, which is not something very hard to find in Arabia, ask it from me. Everything you want, because He provides everything. If a person lives like this, he's a true muwahhid. You want to be a true muwahhid? Even some of the urafa, they would ask Allah to breathe. Give me permission to breathe. Inhale and exhale. And this became very prevalent in COVID times, when someone was just trying to breathe. And they're in the hospital, in ventilator. Just even something like this, 30 seconds we don't have, what happens to us? 30 seconds, 1 minute, a few minutes, that's it. Khalas, Fatiha ma salawat for us. That's it. So therefore, everything lahda and lahda, we need God. So that's the first step. Everything you do, and I know that there's a list of things that we forget. But you try in Shahr Ramadan, make it less and less. That everything I'm starting, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Allah help me. If you don't help me, who's going to help me? Who's going to help me? And you become a muwahhid. Not that I am a muwahhid. Inshallah, zahiran, a muwahhid, but batinan, I'm not claiming that I've reached just the stage. 2, a person becomes even farther away from God. In that because of him not understanding things correctly, he doesn't make dua because he relies too much on the natural causes of things in this world. Allah made such a beautiful system for us. Everything works better than a clock. Everything is organized completely. We have cause and effect. So much so that people forget about the role that God plays in this universe. And they rely just on the dunya and the cause and effect that's happening. They think that if I'm going to be rich, I don't need God, na'udhu billah. They're forgetful. They say that if I have a good business plan, if I can get a loan, if I have a good team, then we will be successful, for example. They don't know that Allah has to give him tawfiq. Allah has to give him success. Question, then how come you're saying Allah has to give them success? How come some that don't have religion sometimes in the dunya are more successful than those that are religious? Do they say Bismillah? No, they don't. Some of them are atheists. The Quran, one answer is this. The Quran says those that want the dunya, we reward them of the dunya. The reward is only there. Why? Because in the akhirat, they don't have a nasib, they don't have a portion in the akhirat, which is horrible. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you believe in Allah, then necessarily you have to have tawfiq. You do your duty. You have your business plan. But what is important for us as people that are fasting and worshiping God, that remember that God has to bless this. God has to allow this to reach tawfiq, to reach its maximum. So therefore, this is the second stage, is that we, because of not understanding God correctly, we think that things should just be done in their normal matters, not from doing tawassul, not from making du'as, which is mustakbir. The last, which is the worst type, is someone becomes so arrogant that they do not believe at all they need God, that I will solve all my problems myself. If somebody is sick, I will take him to the best doctor and he will heal him. I will give him the best medication. I will give him the best health insurance, and he's going to live 100 years. Not knowing that how many people have tried this path but have been unsuccessful. That if Allah does not preserve us, then who is going to preserve us? So these are cases of people that are arrogant. And in the Quran it has about those that are arrogant. We read, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمْ أَدْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ عَنْ عِبَادَتِي سَيَدْخُلُونَ جَهَنَّمَ دَاخِرِينَ. Your Lord has said, call me and I will hear you. Call me and I will hear you. Indeed, those who are disdainful of my worship, I will enter hell, they will enter hell in utter humiliation. Those that are arrogant in calling God. So this was an introduction. Every night we give a little introduction about the need of why we have to do dua. And this is why dua is mukhul ibadah, because inside of dua and making dua is ubudiyat, is being a slave of God. Because that's what a slave does. Slave, he asks from God and he says, I'm nothing. I am a sinner. I'm nothing. Forgive my sins. I need your tawfiq. I need your blessings, God. That is what a true abd does. Let's continue with the sharh of the dua in the next, inshallah, 20 minutes. Or can we speak more? Can we speak a few hours? Is that okay or no? It's a suhoor time. Is that okay? I'll be by myself. One of the ulama was protesting during the Shah's time, and he went on the minbar for days. And he said, I will not come down until this happens. People would throw him fruit and food on the minbar. He would keep talking and speaking for the people. So if you want, inshallah, we can do that, inshallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajjal farajahum. We're at this line in this beautiful dua attributed to Imam al-Zaman. Allahumma adhinta li fi du'aik wa mas'alatik. Oh God, you have given me permission to invoke you and beseech you. Many times we think that when we come to the masjid or we open Mafatihul Janan or the books, that it is us turning to God. Neglecting the fact that this dua is saying, you have given me permission to talk to you even. Subhanallah. Because Allah that's what Tawheed, Rububi means. The Lordship of God, that He is the only effective force in this universe. And that when you talk to Him, He is giving you permission. He has allowed you to even mention His name. You see how different that is than saying, I made dua, God, and sometimes in the back of our minds, especially when we make a lot of dua, say, dua, God, I read Joshan Kabir, I read Abu Hamza Thumali, I read dua Iftitah, you owe me something now. I've been praising you the entire night, I'm tired, my back hurts. I didn't even have a seat. The entire night, you owe me something. But Imam al-Zaman Ajjallahu Ta'ala Faraja is teaching us that when you make dua, you're seeking permission from God. He has invited you. He has brought you to make dua. If He is not going to answer your dua, would He ever call you? Would He call you to reject your dua? No. It means that half of your dua is already answered. Especially, would He allow you to read the same dua as the dua of Imam al-Zaman and then reject you and humiliate you? Is this how God works? Is that how He treats His abd? No. He wants to answer our dua. He wants to give us permission. We'll read later on, He is looking towards us in the dua. It says, we turn away from Him. We are running away from God. And that is the title I said to call this, why do we turn away from God? Why do we run away from Him even? Firar. Some of the hadith, it says in Mawa'idh al-Adadiyah, خَلَقْتُ الْأَشْيَاء كُلَّهَا لِأَجْلِكَ وَخَلَقْتُكَ لِأَجْلِي وَأَنْتَ تَفِرُّ مِنِّي. If I remember the hadith right. I have created everything for you, Bani Adam. Everything. How many planets are there? Solar systems are there? How vast is space? All of this is for you, all of you. He has created all of this for you, this world. But I have created you for myself, but you are for me. Everything's for you, but you are for me. But you run away from me. You run away from me. I want you. I want to talk to you. I brought you to call so you can talk to me. But we are into, is the dua, Iftitah says, what's said later, but you show uninterest or ininterest. You're not interested in me. Why are we not interested in God? Because we're interested in other things. That heart, our teacher, Sheikh Ahmad Mushtahidi, Akhlaq teacher, over and over would teach us, the heart that is like an airport. If there's already planes already there, there's no room for anything to land anymore. That heart that is open, is vacant, that it doesn't have these attachments, the angels can land there. The angels will land there. God, you gave me permission. I made dua, but you will read dua for 6 hours, but you will make it humbly. Ayatollah Sistani says worship is tanazzul. One of the requirements of worship is to bring yourself down, or else it's not even worship. How many people have worshipped Allah but become more arrogant? Saying, oh Allah, I fast, I pray, I do salatul layl, I make all these du'as, but look at this brother, he doesn't even do anything, look at me. How easy we could get into ujb. But the dua at the beginning is saying, you gave me permission, so thank you actually. I am grateful. You have brought me here, thank you. It might take 2 hours sometimes, ladies, 4 hours. I might not have a chair, but thank you so much, you have brought me here. A night to talk to you, khayrun min alf shahr, a night that's worth more than 1,000 months. Thank you. A person came to Imam Rida alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. They say that he offered him some grapes. And the person said, that's it. Thank you, I don't want any, or thank you. Then another person came, and there was a pious person. And imagine the Imam of the age gives you something. Is it normal? When I give you grapes, you can throw it in the trash, it's fine, it's from me. But when Imam Rida gives you grapes, you put it on top of your head, on your eyes. He said, thank you, Imam Rida, I don't deserve it, thank you very much, you gave me grapes. What do you think the Imam's response was? He gave him more. You know, when you shukr, when you do shukr, the Quran says, Al-azidannakum, I increase you. I increase my favors to you. He gave him more. This, more grapes. Thank you so much, Imam Rida. I don't deserve it. Thank you so much. Until the end, he gave him the entire orchard, entire garden of grapes. This is yours now, because you are grateful. When, believe me, brothers and sisters, if you want to remember something in this Shahr Ramadan from me, when you approach God and you raise your hands in dua and you say, Allahumma adinta li fi du'aik, Allah, you gave me permission, be very grateful. Be very grateful, because we don't even know where we'll be next year, what will happen to us. How many people have the permission to talk to God? How many people right now in the city that we live in are thinking of God right now? How many people are granted to make a dua that is from the Imam of the age, the Savior of humanity? How many people have that permission? Thank you, Allah. Thank you for this dua. Thank you for, I don't deserve it. I tell myself all the time, I don't deserve to speak about religion. I don't even deserve to mention the name of Imam Mahdi. I don't deserve it, I say. I don't deserve to speak to you, God. But you are Arhamar Rahimeen. The dua says, you are Arhamar Rahimeen. One of the greatest gifts from Imam Sajjad we have is this ability to make dua. Sometimes, I said that vision, change our vision. Sometimes we only think that having an electric car is only ni'mat to Allah when gas prices are very high. When people are filling up their cars like this, you know, a little bit and let go a little bit and they pay their money and go. At that time, think that's the great. Or having a very big home. These are ni'mats of Allah. Yes, just true. But we focus on it so much that we forget that there are other rizq. Rizq is not only material. Rizq is spiritual. Rizq is psychological. As one of our ulama says, rizq is anything, provision is anything that will help you in your success. And one of those things that is rizq is the permission to make dua, is a rizq. One of the things that is rizq is knowledge. Some of our ulama were very poor. They starved sometimes. But they had true rizq. The rizq was knowledge. The rizq was worship. The rizq was ziyarat of Imam Ali alayhi salam every day. That was true rizq. So stop thinking of rizq, that God only loves you if He gives you a lot of money, a lot of things. You might be unhealthy, na'udhu billah. We might be poor and have poverty. But the fact that you have found God, that means that you have found everything. But if you have everything but you don't have God, you have nothing. Absolutely nothing. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, وَمِنْ أَعْظَمِ النِّعَمْ عَلَيْنَا جَرْيَانُ ذِكْرِكَ عَلَىٰ أَنْزِنَتِنَا. And from the أَعْظَمُ النِّعَمْ, from the best blessings of God, is jaryan, jari, flowing of your remembrance in our mouth, in our tongues. This is أَعْظَمُ النِّعَمْ. That this tongue is used for subhanallah, alhamdulillah, to make dua, to make munah. This is أَعْظَمُ النِّعَمْ. You want to know the greatest gift that God has given you? Is to make dua, to mention Him. وَإِذْنُكَ لَنَا بِدُعَائِكَ, and your permission to make dua, to call you. وَتَنْزِيهِكَ وَتَسْبِيهِكَ, and to declare you exalted and you holy. This is how our imams were. They used this tongue not for ghaybat, not for backbiting, not for lying. Maybe you could count for 50 different vices from this tongue. How many societies have been ruined because of a tongue, of spreading lies and rumors. But أَعْظَمُ النِّعَمْ is this tongue that is blessed, that is remembering God. فَاسْمَعْ يَا سَمِيعُ مِدْحَتِي وَأَجِبْ يَا رَحِيمُ دَعْوَتِي وَأَقِلْ يَا غَفُورُ أَثْرَتِي. We continue in the dua. So after that, so listen, O hearer of my words of praise, and favorably reply to my supplication, and minimize my falling into misery, O all-forgiving. When we say listen, God, listen, when you say this, does it mean that God can't hear? No, He is hearing everything. When you say listen, it means that protect me, as we have in du'as, from a prayer that's unheard. Min a'udhu bika min du'a'in la yusma'. Protect me from a du'a that is not heard. It just goes and it does not answer. The angels don't see it. Nobody recognizes it. It just vanishes into thin air. A du'a that's not heard. So we have things to do. We have to prepare ourselves in a way that when we call God, God listens. A lot of that is not necessarily reading that dua. It is what you bring from yourself when you make that dua, who you are now. You know, we have narrations that you don't even need to make dua to have your prayers answered. There are narrations that God answers those prayers of those that don't even make dua, but they have different types of capabilities. They have different types of good deeds. The title of this chapter is The One Whose Request is Granted Without Asking. There are people that will call God all the time, but because of that corruption they have, because of the sins that they have, those prayers will not be heard. Then there will be another person that will have taqwa, a person that will have piety. They don't even make dua yet, and Allah has already answered it. You see? Ya Dawood, Allah says in hadith, and Abi Hamza, Inna Allah awha ila Dawood. Ya Dawood, to Prophet Dawood, Innahu laysa abdun min ibadi yuti'uni fima amaruhu illa a'taytu qabla an yas'alani. There is nobody that asks me from my servants, that obeys me and follows me of what I have commanded him, that I give before he asks me. So there are some that even before asking, their prayers are heard. وَيَسْتَجِيبُ لَهُ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَدْعُونِي. And I answer him before he supplicates to me. So we said to have our prayers heard, another condition is to be able to have from sincerity, from a pure heart, from a pure mouth. Sometimes we make du'as, it says make du'as for others, because they say that if you make du'as for others, Allah doesn't have those conditions of having that du'a being answered because it's for someone else. But when it's from yourself, you're trying to make sure that Allah answers your prayers. Let's recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. وكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها وهموم قد كشفتها. Oh my God, my Lord, oh Allah, many a trouble you have removed, many a sorrow you have dispelled. How many dangers did we have? What is our age? How old are you, for example? When you were going to be raised from a beginning to now, how much bala was there in this universe? How much things could have went wrong? But you are here, you're healthy, you're existing. Allah has constantly been protecting you. You're learning that in this course, that Allah is constantly blessing you and protecting you with so many things that you didn't even remember, that you were sleeping sometimes. And He protected you from so many dangers. To being grateful to Allah. Many a misery you have mitigated. Many times we had miseries, but we forget how many times in our life did we have things we made dua and Allah solved it and we have forgotten about it. Why? Because it's been answered. We forget about it. Look at your own individual lives. How many things did you go and remember yourself and flash? You can have a flashback of exactly when you were born till now. How many things did you make for dua and Allah protected you and answered those du'as? Maybe it was when you're going for your education, for choosing a spouse, for your kid, when your child was born and you asked Allah, protect this child. God, give me this child, and has raised them and protected him. And at all times, your mercy was encompassing and you cut the tightening cords of the misfortunes. When Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was told to introduce his Lord in the Quran, when he introduces God, there's ways that you can introduce God in terms of theology and intellect. And there's ways that you can introduce God by what He has done for you, by love. In the Quran, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam introduces his Lord as this way: Alladhi khalaqani fahuwa yahdin. This is my Lord. This is the correct God. Your Lord or there's idols you worship are fake. But my Lord is He who has created me. And it is He who guides me. This is according to the Quran. وَالَّذِي هُوَ يُعْطِيُنِي يُطْعِمُنِي وَيَسْقِينِ. And He is the one that gives me food when I am sick. This is my Lord. See, it's love that He is taking care of you. In the dua and other du'as we have, that same Lord that has provided you with food, that same Lord that has provided you with water and has cared for you, He is the same Lord in the Akhirah. How can He protect you and provide for you, but in the hereafter just humiliate you? Is He not your same Lord? Should you not have that favorable of opinion about God because it is the same God? So just as He has given me permission to make dua, just He has given me permission, He has guided me, just as He has given me food, you can say in the hereafter He will also take care of me. You know, this is called raja, having all this hope, not being so negative that there's always going to be this, in a way that you'll have despair, that God will protect you. Don't worry, it was Allah, He is the one that will judge us. وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ. And when I was sick, He gave me shafa. This is my Lord Prophet Ibrahim is saying. He guided me. He provided for me. He cured me when I was sick. وَالَّذِي يُمِيتُنِي ثُمَّ يُحْيِينِ. And He is the one that will make me die and will give me life. So therefore we understand in this part of dua, and we'll start the next section, that we talk about these favors of God, these things that were not by accident. We do not believe in accident or chance. That He has protected us, He has provided us, He has guided us. And you think of the ni'am of Allah, and you will fall in love with Him. You think of how much He has done for you, and you appreciate it. The next section is that we are turning away from God in the dua. We say in the dua, and we continue inshallah, Ya Rabbi, innaka tad'uni fa'awalli ank. God, you have called me, you have invited me, but I turn away. وَتَتَحَبَّبُ إِلَيَّ فَأَتَغَبَّضُ إِلَيْكَ. You offer your affection while I respond with disinterest to you. And we said this is what? This disinterest. Brothers, sisters, people have attributes, some like bees. What's the attribute of a bee? What does a bee look for? A bee looks for flowers, fragrances, things that are colorful, nice. What does a fly look for? A fly looks for things that are smelly, trash, garbage, feces. Some have this quality inside them that their heart is like a bee. And it's going to be interested in beautiful things, good things. Some, their heart is like a fly, and they're attracted to evil things, dunya things. This is one of the main reasons to answer the question, why do we run away from God? It's about who we are. God is present. He is there. He is closer to us than our jugular vein. But it's that interest is because we have become like flies. We have been interested. If you see a lot of times when you have conversations and you see the conversation of the Muslims, a lot of times they hang out. Brothers, sisters hang out. You can see where their heart is by what type of things they like to talk about. Unfortunately, all the time, it's good to talk about how to make money, but how much? How much you always want to sit with your brothers and think of, different cryptocurrencies all the time and different types of them, and to think all the time of what type of portfolio do you have, what job did I have, what benefits does it have? Just dunya, 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 dinar and dirham. Dinar and dirham. In hadith, it tells us in this world, everyone is interested in dinar and dirham, silver coin and gold coins. They'll be thirsty for these things. And people are, unfortunately. But our appetite changes in the hereafter. You see a child, when a child is born, what does that child want? And most of these little infants, I don't know if there's infants here, they have an addiction to milk. They're addicted to milk because for them, milk is the tastiest thing. You could put for them, I don't know, what's the best, nahari, I don't know. You could put for them chelo kebab or different things. They won't even look at it, right? Because they're interested, their dha'iqa, their taste is used to milk. They like milk. But just as our taste changes when we grow up and you start to realize, I like actually, kalla pache. I don't know if here you guys know what I'm talking about. It's the face and the feet of lambs. And online they'll say one of the grossest foods ever. But we like it, alhamdulillah. We like it a lot. So your taste changes. In the hereafter, that taste in the same way. Today's dinar and dirham. Crypto, Ethereum, I don't know. You want to have, my dream is to have a whole, for example, Bitcoin or something. But in the hereafter, I wish I had amal salih. My taste changes. They'll put dirham and dinar in front of me, but I say, what is this? I'm not really just like that kid that was interested in milk, but now we're not interested anymore in breast milk. In the same way, they're interested in amal salih, good action. They'll be thirsty. Wow, mashallah, look at you. Look at you, look at this action you brought. And they're going to be maybe comparing each other. Look at and showing off in front of each other maybe in the hereafter that look what I have. Because they are thirsty for the hereafter. They're thirsty for good deeds. So this comes back to the fact that if we don't change from within what we like, what's tasteful for us, we will be like flies. But if you truly practice Islam correctly, and you taste a little bit of the liddat of Islam, true liddat, through true joy of religion, true spirituality, true love of Imam al-Zaman, true love of reciting the Quran, true love of fasting and iftar, then you notice all the time you're talking about religion. I had family members, some of them had very pious people. They would be upset if you talked about the dunya in front of them. They would be like this. Immediately they would read a hadith when you come. He wasn't even a sheikh. They weren't even a sheikh. They'd read hadith for you right when we come in. There's a time period in Iran, maybe 50 or maybe 100 years ago, that when you would enter someone's house, they would ask you, do you want the chai first or do you want the hadith first? Which one do you want first? You want chai or hadith? Because it was part of the culture of the mu'mineen to share a hadith when they would sit next to each other. So you can observe yourself this Shahr Ramadan. How much interested are you in God, or how much interested are you in the dunya? Just whenever you talk to your friends, whenever you hang out, there's always business, there's always dinar and dirham. During the time and the advent of Imam al-Zaman, there will be so much plentifulness that even during that time, people will not be interested in dinar and dirham. There will be too much. It will be everywhere. There will be too much for everyone. Everyone will be satisfied. And that is why we need Imam Zaman, because this thirst you have, and it is appropriate that yes, we should work hard. I'm not saying not to work hard, not to have a business plan, but show what are you truly interested in. Is the dunya a tool for you to reach Allah? Or are you just focusing in the reality of the dunya? And this is the last thing. So Allah calls us, but we turn away because our hearts are already full of other things, of aghyar, everything else. So we turn away. Because we haven't tasted the joy of religion. Brothers and sisters, there are many people here, they wish they had that joy that you had. Do you enjoy your religion or not? Do you enjoy fasting? Do you enjoy being reconnected? I remember when people talk about, I miss Shahr Ramadan. It's like, I love Shahr Ramadan. And you think, oh, it's fasting, it's hardship, it's heat. But one of the things that they miss about the month of Ramadan is actually missing God. Because Shahr Ramadan means to reconnect to God, because you missed Him. It's been 11 months we've been separated from Him. It took such commands from God so that we can realize Him again, so that we can be together and talk about Him, our Lord. This is why we love Shahr Ramadan, because we love Him, because we miss Him. This is why we love the nights of Qadr. Even though the nights of Qadr, you could say it's almost torture for some. Staying awake, fighting against not sleeping, it would be hard. But that person that loves that relationship, they think, oh, last year, I missed Laylatul Qadr. I had one of the best nights of my life. I remember when we entered the Hawza, every night our teacher for the martyrdom of the Imams, he was very strict and would make sure that the martyrdom of the Imams, he would call it class still. He says, class is not canceled. Class has been changed. This is an Imamat class now. It's a class on how to love the Imams. We're not going to have the traditional books. We're going to have, Latmiya or Sinazani or Matam. And students would say these nights in the Hawza that we cried for Imam Hussein, cried for the Imams, those were the nicest nights of my life. Because I have cried for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and there's no greater liddat or joy than Imam Hussein for me. And this is a reality or not, you are blessed with this family that attracts you so much, that you right now as lovers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam are willing to give your money, your lives, everything for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, to go and spend one more night in the shrine of Abi Abdullah. So we turn away from God because we forgot the taste of spirituality. And this is one of the heavenly tastes that even if you pay millions of dollars, you will not be able to get this taste. So we're going to remember Imam Hussein alayhi salam and learn that through love of him, through tasting religion, through drawing ourselves, that a Muslim actually likes his life even more than a non-Muslim. He enjoys life. Even he might be in poverty, he might be in sickness, but that lidha of munajat, that lidha of calling Allah, that lidha of crying for Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, that lidha of preparing for Imam Zaman, the lidha of calling him and asking him to give us inayah and attention is worth more than anything else in this world. It is more satisfying than anything else. This month, we can dim the lights a little bit. I'd like to mention something about Imam Ali alayhi salam, make us cry for him. Because if you want to learn how to make dua, if you want to learn how to cry to God, you learn from Imam Ali alayhi salam, a person that prayed 1,000 of units of prayer day and night, throughout the day, throughout the night. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We'll begin inshallah. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا مقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. The Shahr Ramadan, brothers and sisters, every time I hear of Shahr Ramadan, I think of fasting and munajat and dua, but I also remember Ali alayhi salam, because this is the month that our master and Mawla, the greatest of creation after Rasulullah, will be martyred. It is the month of Ali alayhi salam. Even Christians like George Dordak say, if Allah were to take away all of our blessings but give us one more Ali ibn Abi Talib, it would be worth it. Ali means great. He was the Imam that even prophets, through his walayat, we have in hadith, Isa alayhi salam cured with the walayat of Imam Ali. Musa alayhi salam spoke to God through the walayat of Ali alayhi salam. And nobody loved Imam Ali as much as Rasulullah. Believe me, nobody loved Imam Ali as much as Rasulullah. That when he's talking about Shahr Ramadan coming, that Rasulullah is upset and says, in this month, Ali, your beard will be full of blood. Your beard will be bloodied in this month. Ali alayhi salam, your awwal madloom. Assalamu alayka ya awwal madloom, ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. All of us have hawa'ij. All of us have wants. There are people that are sick, they need shafa. People that are suffering financially. We are misguided. We need guidance. We need completion of guidance. We want our Imam to come back, Imam Ali alayhi salam. But what did Imam Ali alayhi salam ask? Did he ask the Prophet, who's going to kill me? Did he ask the Prophet of Islam, how is it going to happen? What's going to happen to my body? He was a warrior. He was courageous. He is our hero. In Ramadan, we lose our hero. Our champion is martyred. Our champion that had 1,000 scars according to Shaykh Saduq on his body. 1,000 scars. He doesn't ask what's going to happen, who's going to do it, can I prevent it? He asks about his religion. And will my religion be intact in that day or not? What about my religion? What about my deen? This is Ali ibn Abi Talib teaching us that our most important concern should be for us to have husnul aqibah, to have a good end. And that night when Imam Ali comes, I won't be here for the nights of Qadr, but that night that Ali alayhi salam is coming to the masjid in final adhan, and Ayatollah Wahid al-Khurasani says, he recites in his salat Suratul Anbiya, because 124,000 prophets were waiting for him, for Ali alayhi salam. 124,000 prophets. There in the best place and the best of nights, and the best of actions, khairul amal, only something so beautiful that Ali could have, just like he was born in the Kaaba, and nobody else was born in the Kaaba. He was martyrdom in the best of nights, best of places, in khairul amal, standing from sujood. They hit Imam Ali alayhi salam. They hit our Mawla. And his blood becomes blood, his beard becomes full of blood. And there he says, Fustu wa Rabbil Kaaba. I have been successful. Ali, truly you have been successful. Nobody but Rasulullah had lived a life like yours of completion, of forgiveness, of compassion to the orphans, of worship and ibadat, of bravery, of theology. Ya Ali, we ask you, inshallah, to help us, inshallah, help this center, help this community in all the challenges it has, and all the endeavors that it has, and all the aspirations and dreams that it has. Inshallah, may allow our children to grow up loving Ali alayhi salam, and our children's children to love Ali alayhi salam. Ya Allah, we ask you to have bless all of our marhumeen that are waiting for us in the Shahr of Ramadan. Bless their souls, inshallah. All of those that are sick, cure them because of the love of Ali alayhi salam. Ya Allah, we ask you to protect, inshallah, the ulama of this center, our great ulama, inshallah. Give them success, more success, and allow this center, inshallah, to facilitate the return of Imam Mahdi and expedite the return of our Imam, inshallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajal farajahum. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajal.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله. الصلاة والسلام على المصطفى الأمجد. الصلاة والسلام على حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد ورحمة الله وبركاته. الصلاة والسلام على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على البضعة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على الحسن المجتبى الولي الناصح الأمين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا، لا سيما سيدي ومولاي بالفضل العباس وأختي زينب. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى جدك وأبيك وعلى أمك وأخيك وعلى التسعة المعصومين من بنيك، لا سيما مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان عجل الله فرجه الشريف، وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره والمستشهدين بين يديه في جملة أوليائه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. والفاتحة إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.